City Council. Wish everybody a happy new year on this, what, third day of January? Fourth day of January. Good to see everybody. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Eddie, if he would, and followed by the Lord's Prayer.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All together, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory forever. Amen.
thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hughes.
Here.
Commissioner Mosier.
Here.
Commissioner Richardson.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Stockton.
Here. You've seen the packets in your, or the minutes in your packet. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from December the 7th, 2020? So moved.
Moved.
Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, the motion carries. Distributions for November.
Page 1 of the general fund, retirement payment, $25,375.76 for October. That was the employee and employer portions. Breathing Air Systems Division, $45,236.69. That's a FEMA grant, which we carry a 5% match on. Cigna Chattanooga, $44,521.11 for employee and employer portions of the health insurance. On page 2 of the general fund, you'll see the annual payment that we make to Leads Online for police software. It's $2,128. Further down, Monroe County Emergency Communications, that's our appropriation to 911 for the quarter, $20,675. You'll also see the payment to Norfolk Southern Railway, $9,622.22. That's the annual lease on the marketplace. The stormwater payment to Sweetwater Utilities Board, $9,256. On page 3, there wasn't anything significant. Page 4, we made payments to Pinnacle Home Improvements for multiple projects on the CDBG facade grant. That is a 100% grant, so the city is reimbursed 100% for that between the property owner match and the grant. And State Street Aid had a payment to Cannon & Cannon for the STP project, $9,656.50, and that's for engineering on that project. There wasn't anything significant in drug fund or in the tourism fund. The library's special revenue fund 124, that report is in there. And also on the home grant, that report is in there if anybody has any questions about it. Solid waste collection fund 132, the last page, garbage payments on the residential contract, $22,593.89 to Waste Connections. And then we made payments of $1,594 and $1,353.73 for various dumpsters and way bills. Any questions on distributions?
Do I hear a motion to approve the distributions?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. Under old business, the fire department has brought up the issue of ambulance service problems down really over the past 5-6 years. We've had off and on problems with ambulance service here in Sweetwater. And it's got to the point again where Chief Anderson and Allen, our commissioner, is getting concerned about it as well as other people, and I'd like to bring this up tonight inform, but we're not gonna vote on anything, we're just gonna kind of touch on it. Then in the workshop at the end of the month, we will open it up for discussion, ask questions, get further information, and that's where we're at now. So at this time, Alan, I'm gonna turn it over to you, then you can turn it over to John, and we can kind of get the preliminary outlay of where we stand at and maybe some solutions to the problem.
When I first was elected and took this office, one of the major concerns was the service that we get from our county ambulance service. I'm a radio junkie. I listen to the radio all the time, and I got to noticing ambulances responding to emergencies in our city from different cities, out of county. And I talked to John a year and a half ago and asked him then to start putting together some numbers and gathering some facts and some data on just how often this was happening. And it's actually more than I had anticipated it being. First and foremost, let me preface all of this by saying, all we really want is for the county to step up and do what they need to do for Sweetwater. Keep us an ambulance here for our citizens. We have a bay at the fire hall over on 322 that we allow them to use to house their ambulance, house their people. But it seems more often than not, when an emergency situation comes up in Sweetwater, it's never here. It's always coming from somewhere else. We would really like for the county to continue to do it, but do it in a way that is bringing justice to Sweetwater and our citizens. I just don't feel like we're getting that. So John has made a lot of phone calls, spent a lot of time researching, and he's probably going to know more about this than I do because he has done all the legwork on it. So John, if you want to address the board, that would be great.
As all of you know, this is a problem that's been going on for years, the response times. We're 20, 30, sometimes 40 minutes getting an ambulance into Sweetwater. As you got to know some of the numbers there, I think last year we were 315 calls that the fire department assisted on. And let me explain, we do not care at all to assist on any call. We never refused one. We'll go on any calls we're asked to help on. The issue is then when we get there, we sit there with a patient that we can do nothing for most of the time, very little for sometimes 40 minutes, waiting on an ambulance to get here when we're 5 minutes away from a hospital. Alan and I sat down with Randy, the director of the ambulance service, a year and a half ago, and I understand, most of y'all know Doug had this issue way before this ever happened. For years we've had this issue. Alan and I, when Alan took over, we sat down with Randy, the director, and we said, Randy, these are issues. Oh yeah, come July 1st, we're going to solve these issues, we're going to do this, this, and that. It never come to happen. I've had multiple, about every 3 months, I sat down with Randy and had the same discussion. You know, they're supposed to supply us with 2 trucks, one for transports, one for emergencies. You know, when we have the discussion, they may provide us with 2 trucks for 2 days, and then we don't see it again until I say something else to them about it. It goes from, for example, when there's a truck in town, their response time is 7 to 9 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes. When there's not, we're waiting 20 and 30 minutes from telephone bomb or somewhere else to get here to help our citizens. We're sitting there with our hands tied. The citizens are looking at us, help us. There's nothing else we can do. I've had, like I said, multiple discussions. Alan said start looking into our options. We have. You know, Priority Ambulance has sent us a proposal with no subsidy, won't cost us a penny. They're gonna provide 3 brand-new ambulances, staff 2 of them 24 hours a day. And there again, and many more options. They're gonna put our guys through EMT school that wanna go, provide CPR classes to anybody in the city, any organization in the city, first aid training for police officers. They're gonna provide a lot of stuff. There are risks involved. That is a ambulance service that has to make money. It's a 5-year contract, I believe. But I want everybody to understand, this is not my first option, as Commissioner said, this is not my first option either. My first option is for the county to solve the issues. The mayor and Mayor talked to one of the county commissioners a minute ago, I talked to another one. They're supposed to be trying to get a called meeting for January to discuss this, to see what they can do to solve the issue. If nothing comes out of that meeting, then we're gonna be faced with, do we wanna continue doing and going on hopes and promises, or do we wanna make a move to hopefully better the city? I've done a lot of research on it, there's no good option either way. There's a better option than another, but we want the county to solve their issues. We don't want to bring in somebody else, because the repercussions of that are gonna be far-reaching. And but yet, it's looking like we can provide a better service if we do go outside, unless the county is willing to step up and do something. That's where we're at. I mean, it's not a good situation any way you look at it, but we've got to do something, because it's this waiting with these patients that are in pain, hurting, dying. Us doing CPR on one occasion for 27 minutes, shocked the guy 7 times, so there was something there to bring back the whole time, and then he dies. We've got to do something. We've got to do something.
We have, if you see in front of you, we had 314 EMS calls that we assisted with in last year. Almost half of those calls pulled ambulances from other areas, which means that our Sweetwater based ambulance was not here to cover this EMS call. Out of those 143 calls, which is almost half of the total, 50 of these calls had an ambulance over 20 minutes to appear on site. That's unacceptable to me.
And understand, those numbers are low compared to what last year's numbers were. We had a little period that everybody was quarantined, and we had no calls for about a 2 to 3 month period. So these numbers are low compared to what they were last year.
And also want everybody to know that this is not a proposal for the fire department to get out of doing work, because these calls are calls that we're on anyway. We're there, so it's nothing to keep our guys in the bay at the fire hall. This is diligence that's been done by John to provide a better service to the citizens of Sweetwater, which that's why I'm here. I don't know what steps need to be taken. I don't know who needs to be talked to, but we just wanted everybody here, this board, to be aware of some facts that we've come up with, the service that we are getting, and one proposal already of services that we can get that won't cost the city a dime.
And Alan, I think I'm right. Well, I know I'm right on this. This doesn't mean the city of Sweetwater is throwing the Monroe County Ambulance Service out of the location. They will still, if they could still be over there to answer the first district calls outside the city, but we will have our own inside the city service that, for an example, one example I think is very important. There was a guy hurt at the rodeo and laid for 45 minutes before an ambulance come near death. And that really got people thinking what's going on with, with ambulance service. 45 minutes, and I think they finally come out of McNeese County. Things like that, and it's a concern, And it's up to us, I think, to provide the best ambulance service that we can for the citizens of Sweetwater. So I don't want to open this up for discussion, but what I want you to do is read the contract here. In the meantime, we talked to some commissioners today. They're supposed to be setting up a meeting, county commission meeting, to discuss this. It's been going on for 2 or 3 weeks, discussion, and no meeting has been called as of today. And it's just something to look over. John's going to get some more information, and during the workshop at the end of the month, we will bring it up for discussion. We'll bring it up for questions. You'll have more additional information for us, and we can ask questions, kick the tires on it, and go from there. Does that suit everybody? Is everybody okay with that? So thank you, John, for the work that you put in this. Alan, I do know, going back to when Doug and Tommy Hahn was commissioner, we met with county mayor and Randy, and we talked about this very same thing. Randy said, I will work on this. The mayor said we would get something done, and it lasted for about 2 months and went right back to where I guess it is now, if that makes sense. And like you said, it's unacceptable. All right, thank you. We'll review this in the workshop in a few weeks. In new business, it's time to review our 5-year plan. In your packets are 2 capital improvement documents. The first is the current plan, and the second one is a draft of the new plan. And Jessica, if you want to give us an oversight of some of the changes, I will open the floor for discussion after you go over those and bring them to our attention.
Okay, on there's 2 documents in your packets. The first one says the current year 5-year plan, so that's the one that we passed last January, and then there's a worksheet that we can start working off of for the new 5-year plan. You'll see I've made some changes already. The ones that I've made, Buster had mentioned dump trucks for State Street Aid equipment. If you'll look down in the street department, you'll see State Street Aid equipment and a significant increase. It may not be enough, so Buster, I'll take any feedback you have on that if you want to tell me in the next meeting or whenever about whether, what kind of pricing we're looking at. I've also incorporated the things that we've gotten grant funding for, like the Hawkins and Linwood STP project, the multimodal sidewalk project along Highway 11. I've also removed several things, things that we had completed, and I thought this would be a good time, which I'll give a quarterly financial report in the workshop, but I had to prepare for the auditors our fixed assets worksheet, and part of that is listing all the projects that were either in construction as of June 30th or completed as of June 30th. And this year I would have thought it would have been kind of an empty list because it feels like we didn't have an opportunity to do a lot of the things that we wanted to do this year. But I just want to read you quickly the projects that were completed between July 1st of 2019 and June 30th of 2020. So this is 1 year's work. We completed Engelman Park Phase 2, pavilion with restrooms, walking paths, the engineering, splash pad, pump house, Engelman Park paving, and ADA swings. We also purchased a pool vacuum for the pool, which Tim could probably tell us how old that vacuum was, but it was in dire need of replacing. The TAP, STP grant, High Street, Anderson Street, pedestrian bridge, sidewalk, and bike path, and of course the engineering with that. The CDBG facade grant, which improved 5 different businesses downtown. Hunter's Cafe awning was provided by that. That's now the location of Jack's Barbecue, and then multiple other window projects in downtown buildings. We purchased 6 vehicles through the Jackie Jones roll-up program, where we don't really have to pay. Most of these vehicles we got at no extra cost. Some of them were $1,000 a piece or less. We did the expansion at Sweetwater Police Department. That one came in under budget. We upgraded a computer server for the police department. We upgraded the computer server for City Hall, including all the payroll documents. We moved the Parks Department into the Police Department. We installed free Wi-Fi in downtown through the ARC grant. We put speakers and sound at the gazebo, which we've gotten a lot of compliments about from people shopping downtown this year. We added a marketplace, bath and washrooms through a Department of Agriculture TAEP grant. We made electrical upgrades downtown so that when we're able to have a festival again, that we have plenty of electricity down there. All of that was through that Department of Agriculture grant. We purchased a leaf machine. We purchased security cameras at the fire department, upgrades at the police department and the depot. We made our doors ADA accessible at the end of City Hall and at the depot. We had a placemakers grant that designed websites for over 12 businesses in town. That was not just downtown businesses, those were throughout town. Plus provided training for over 100 different people who came and attended the training. We paved the alley from Wright Street to Monroe Street. We updated the kitchen at City Hall. We provided more Christmas decorations. We did home grants on CDBG on Blair Avenue. We completed multiple homes there and are still construction in progress on that, so you'll see more of that through this year. We purchased the inflatables from a business that had closed in town so that now we no longer have to rent those for both school functions and city functions. We made $15,000 worth of upgrades for the I-75 Commerce Park Public-Private Partnership. We purchased fire radio equipment. We started the STP project to pave Hawkins and Linwood. That project is in engineering right now, so they're working on their NEPA phase, but we expect that to be bid in the next few months. We also made several purchases in the library for books and library computer equipment. And also the police department were able to acquire several assets from military surplus, the ballistic blankets to put in the school system to help protect the students, exercise equipment for employees, a jack, a van, vehicle lighting kits, so several things that saved us from having to purchase them. We acquired them for free from the military surplus. And that was in 1 year. And those are just the things that are capitalized, which means they're over a certain level. So that kind of tells you what I removed off of the list. If they were construction in progress, they're still on there, but if they're completed, I took them off the worksheet. So if y'all will kind of review that, if you want to discuss any of it tonight, we can, or we can put it on the workshop for further discussion. We don't have to pass the capital improvement plan technically until April 1st, so we have time on it. But if you'll look over that worksheet and kind of tell us what we need for each department, and of course that's the starting point for where we go with the actual budget. But also East Tennessee Development District gets a copy of our capital improvement plan, and so does the state of Tennessee. So if we can prove that we've been, planning for these things for several years, sometimes grants find their way to us through that capital improvement plan. So it's not just about what we can afford right this second, it's a little bit of a wish list too, so just keep that in mind as you're planning for what you need over the next 5 years.
So look that over, and we'll bring that up. You want to bring that up at the workshop in January, and maybe February. That'll give everybody opportunity to talk to your department heads and exchange ideas and things like that. But I would like to say this on behalf of the mayor to the commissioners and the department heads. In reading what we've accomplished this last year is remarkable under the circumstances we've had to work with the pandemic and COVID and everything else. The city of Sweetwater has done good. Our sales tax has stayed up there. I think that's through the shop at home incentives that we have tried to get out to people. I think it's for y'all watching your budget and taking care of your budget. And I just want to commend you that you all have done a great job. And this right here proves it. All the things that's been accomplished in this year. I'm telling you, it's remarkable. And we're still pretty strong on our reserve, our rainy day fund. And so that speaks well. Thank you guys for that. Any comments or anything on this? Okay. One item that I would like to discuss is adding a part-time employee for litter control. Coming up in the upcoming budget, I'd like to incorporate around $13,000. This will be an annual pay for a part-time employee with unemployment, workman's comp, and tax benefit only. What this actually means, and we've talked about this about 6 months ago, we brought it up, and I've talked to some of the department heads. Everybody seems to be kind of in favor. This would be a employee that would go around, and that would be all they would do is pick up litter. If they saw a box at the side of the road, out on U-68, Main Street, if a garbage can is overflowing down here, especially in the summertime when the guys are mowing and out doing stuff, they just don't have time to go out and pick up litter. And I hate litter with passion. We talked about this, that we would look at it, but I've had a few comments from people who says, well, what about some of the off streets, some of like up on, let's say Price Street, Oakland Road, places like that, it kind of gets overlooked sometimes. So we talked about this, and nothing was ever brought up one way or the other, except most people thought it was a good idea. So I want to bring it up for discussion. These people would be on a part-time basis. Lamar and Tim have agreed that they would take this person under their department. They would make sure that whoever it was that was hired would be a person trustworthy. If they mostly work maybe 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, about 20 hours a week, or 2 full-time days and a part-time day, but I think it would enhance our city. And we've got a pretty good reputation of having a beautiful city. We just need beautiful roads and clean roads and, you know, a place that people look in, come into town and say, you know, that's a clean city. That's what I'm after. And that's what I think you're after too. So I'm going to open this up for discussion from the council, see their thoughts on it, and see how they feel about it.
Got one question. Don't have any problem with the employee. I don't know what kind of employee we're gonna get for that kind of money. But we normally don't give part-time people benefits.
Yeah, this position would only have the ones that are required by law, which is workers' comp, unemployment, and then their base wage. So we wouldn't be adding any benefits for that
No
position.
retirement, no hospitalization.
I didn't hear you, Joel. Tell me what you said at first when you started explaining this. You was talking about the employee and what you wanted.
This would be a employee of $13,000 a year. That is equal out to about $10 or $12 a month. I mean, an hour. And what they would do is do nothing more than pick up trash, pick up litter. That would be their job. Then the unemployment, workers' comp, they've got to have workers' comp. And tax benefit, which means that we would take out 4 taxes. That's it.
That's it. Okay, I misunderstood.
Yeah. They would have no other benefits.
We didn't normally,
No,
anytime we've ever part-time anybody, they didn't get any kind of benefit.
that's all. And it could be a male or a female. This would be under the guidance of Lamar and Tim of hiring the person. Probably a retired person that enjoys getting out and doing that kind of work.
I've noticed since the folks have been putting that dirt in down there, a lot of that trash is not there anymore.
Right, but it's still, they throw it out. That's right. That really looks good down at Rural King's work that him and Richard has done.
Better than it's looking a long time.
Yeah. And we want to keep it like that. That's the main thing behind this. We want to keep it looking good. Coming in and outside the city, we've just got our signs done. The one down at the nursing home It has been repainted. We're gonna put some new signs on it with welcome to Sweetwater. That one, and the one up here across from TMI, or TNG, same thing up there. The Park and Rec boys that went up there, they have sanded it, they painted it, they've refurbished it, and they're gonna, it'll have the same thing on it, welcome Sweetwater. And, so, that's mainly it, Bill.
I didn't understand, I thought you mentioned a couple other
No.
things that we normally don't get that time. Didn't want to open a can of worms.
Yeah, no worms open. Anybody else? So I'm gonna put this up for a motion. Do I hear a motion to hire this part-time person?
Who made the motion? I'll say.
Motion been made and second. Any discussion?
One I'd like to make on the thing, if they're cleaning up the trash, and they pick up trash out there, and it's got a name in it, then the first thing he does, or she does, is make sure that they get a hold of it. We've got these no litter signs all over there. We got over $500 worth of them we bought. We need to start enforcing the litter law.
Tim Lamar, is that?
There's no problem.
I think that's a great idea. Okay, we have a motion, second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The motion does carry.
What's the time for that?
We will, yeah, this will be, in the proposed budget coming up in June. We can manage to do it unless you wanna,
do a budget.
yeah,
Can we go and get started now?
yeah.
You can, you just have to do a budget.
That's 6 months down the road, why don't we amend the
We can.
budget and go ahead and hire somebody? Because we got some festivals maybe coming up, hopefully, and stuff like
So I'll
that.
put it on the February agenda for the first week.
Okay. Finally, this is very important. This is for some of our employees, and I think it's very important. The FMLA law was amended in 2020 to allow employees more leave for COVID and quarantine. So far, the federal government has not expanded the law going into 2021. The recorder, with advice from MTAS, is recommending we pass a resolution to extend FMLA expansion through June the 1st, 2021, that's what our new budget, with the condition that if the federal government extends, we will not duplicate the benefit. And what this means is these people that take their quarantine, and let's say they're quarantined 10 days. Well, they've got 4 days to be quarantined more, but after that, they don't get paid for being quarantined. Am I right, Jess?
Basically, the federal government's expansion of this expired on December 31st, and since they technically haven't passed a extension on that, they passed to pay part of the stimulus money, but they did not pass to extend any of the benefits of the Families First Act. So it would be unfair for me to get to take quarantine leave in November and not have to use my sick days because I used the federally mandated quarantine days. And then an employee that gets sick this month no longer gets that benefit. He would have to use his sick days if we don't pass this resolution. So in passing this resolution, it's allowing all the employees to have the same benefits they've had since last April. It expires in June. So June 1st, we look at the situation. If the federal government still hasn't passed anything, then you could again extend it if coronavirus is still so prevalent. And the reason I did June 1st is because that gives us some time before the fiscal year end to make adjustments. right now, every employee has 14 days a year to use for quarantine pay. Some of them have not used any quarantine pay, so they still have a full 14 days. Some of them have used 10 days of quarantine pay, so they have 4 days left. After that, you would have to use your sick days, and they all understand that, but I just thought in fairness to the employees, it's not fair that some of the employees got to use it the first half of the year, and then they're not gonna have those days the second half of the year. And obviously, it's still here, so it's something that probably still needs to be extended.
This is just taking care of our employees. I hear a motion to pass this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Discussion on this. Is there any way quarantine days can be swapped?
Give me an example of what you're saying.
Okay, we've got a guy that's been out quarantined 14 days. He don't have anything left.
Right.
Okay, we've got a guy that hadn't been out. Something happens and the first guy's member of family or something, he's exposed.
So we would still require him to stay home, but as far as his pay goes, other employees are allowed to donate sick days to that person. They could not donate quarantine days.
They couldn't donate sick days though.
They could donate sick days, vacation days, personal days, but they couldn't donate quarantine days because those are part of the
Yeah,
federal
I
law.
understand that.
Yeah, but they could
sick
help
da-
him.
Sick days, vacation days, they could help him out.
Yeah, like if it's a new employee, that's when, or comp time, they can donate that to him also.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All in
Here,
favor?
sorry, let me just throw this out there while we're talking about it. Now that some of our employees have been vaccinated, we're gonna have to do a little research into, like, for example, I had COVID, so I'll talk about myself since it's not a HIPAA violation. I had COVID in November, and I used, say, 10 of my days. Well, if I got sick again, I could use the remaining 4 days, and then I'd have to start using my sick days. Well, I also do not have to quarantine for 90 days after I've been sick. Because I've been exposed, I supposedly can't be a carrier, and I can't get sick again for 90 days, is what CDC and the health department says. So we're not gonna if I got exposed tomorrow, I wouldn't have to quarantine again, because I'm still within my 90-day period. Well, these employees that have been vaccinated, we're gonna have to do a little research and figure out, because as far as I know, CDC and health department hasn't updated quite yet, but they're working on it, about what do we do if an employee who's been vaccinated is exposed? Do they not have to quarantine? Do they do have to quarantine? What if they only have one dose versus 2 doses?
After the 2 weeks, after the second shot, you're done.
And you don't have to quarantine, but they haven't set a time frame for how long that is?
They don't know.
Yes,
They don't
everybody's
know.
saying they think the vaccine lasts 6 months.
They think the vaccine is for lifetime because it's a 2-shot vaccine, so it should be for lifetime.
So
But
at
they
this
don't know that
point,
yet.
I'll just say it like this, at this point, you all have kind of trusted me and Eddie and John and Chuck and the department heads basically to kind of try and figure out what the health department and CDC has said and set that policy. That's what we'll keep doing, but if you have a problem with them or if something, that's what we'll keep doing. We'll keep paying attention to those 2 advisory boards and trying to keep up with it as best we can, but the rules have changed a million times since last April, and they'll continue to change more, and we'll stay on top of it as best we can. And if someone wants to be specifically in charge of that, we're more than welcome to let you do it. So, that's also related to Corona, so I'll throw that out there.
John, when has most of the fire and police department got their first shot?
Most of my guys have, with the exception, I think there's been 4 of them that have not. I don't, yours is pretty much.
We have, except for if, yes, we were vaccinated. If you've had it within 90 days, you can't get vaccinated.
We still got guys getting it also.
Yes, yes.
I got one going tomorrow. I mean, so it's an ongoing thing, but yeah.
But they've made them available, and it's worked out great. I mean,
Good.
A lot of people scared of it, there was nothing to it. The shot was easier than a flu shot. Very simple.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I know.
Opposed likewise, the motion does carry. Okay, a couple of reminders here. First of all is the ethics filing that we do every year. Bring those in to Jessica, she'll fill those out for you. We've got to have them in by end of the month. So that's necessary. In our January workshop, we will have a quarterly financial update and discuss the capital improvement plan again, bring that up. Also, I would like to have a budget workshop in March before the April 1st deadline to present the first draft that we put out. I'd like to set a date for this workshop. If it's okay with everybody, we'll just have a lunch meeting workshop here and have our food catered into us, and this way we'd spend plenty of time on it, go over everything, and go from there, if that's okay. Anybody have a problem in March? This okay with everybody? Okay, a little good news. Our boat dealership guy is moved to Sweetwater. As soon as the weather starts cooperating a little bit, well, he's gonna be constructing his boat dealership out there next to Clayton Mobile Homes. Another bit of good news that I learned about was we've got a new furniture store moving in down where Fred's was. Chuck, you told me that demolition was gonna be starting soon.
Yeah, this construction company asked for permission to start demolition this week. Probably next week, they'll be getting me some build-out plans, and then they'll actually start reconstructing and setup of the inside.
This is a well-known, I'm not gonna say the name right now, they may not want it, but it's gonna be big. They'll have appliances, they'll have furniture, something that we have needed. And they are a good company, and it's gonna be an asset to Sweetwater, along with the boat dealership too, so we're proud of that. Okay, that's all I have. Anything else that needs to come before the board tonight? Chuck, you got anything else to add?
No, I'm good.
John, you've already talked. Tanya, you got anything?
Things are going fine.
Okay. Tim, anything on your?
Things good.
Okay, good. Happy New Year again to you, and we are gonna have a great year. We are adjourned.
By the way, W-2s are gonna take longer this year.